Why is the Mona Lisa so famous? Art of painting is one of the greatest arts in the world, and paintings remain even after their creators have passed for hundreds of years. For example, who among us hasn't heard of the Mona Lisa before? Perhaps she's the most famous woman on the face of the earth. But there's always a strange mystery in my mind. Why is all the fame and attraction to that painting? It's estimated to be worth around $860 million and might even reach $1 billion by 2023. Reason for fame. Some may think that its fame and price are due to its beauty in terms of color usage and combination. But if we talk about colors, we should not forget the brilliance of Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night. See how that brilliant and crazy painter used colors in a magical way. We see the integration of blue color in the deep sky surround by shining yellow stars above an artificial sea, the clearer and brighter blue color in the continuous sky surrounding the moon. A cobalt blue color dominates it, with green strokes around the moon that a green emerald color dominates it, a deeper Indian yellow and zinc yellow for the moon and stars, and finally, a brighter cadmium yellow around the stars and moon, the branches of the scorched cypress tree, and possibly blue Provence, or either scorched or one of the yellow hues. The scream. It is not expressive enough, like Edward Munch's painting The Scream. You can see the dynamic and blended colors and an expressionist mummy face shouting so loudly that you almost feel like you can hear those frightening screams. He later described his inspiration. I was walking along the road with two friends. The sun was setting. Suddenly the sky turned blood red. I paused, feeling exhausted, and leaned on the fence. There was blood and tongues of fire above the blue-black field and the city. My friends walked on, and I stood there trembling with anxiety, and I sensed an infinite scream passing through nature. It is not strange, like the surrealist paintings of the amazing painter Salvador Dali, which raises hundreds of questions in your head. One such painting is The Persistence of Memory, which he painted in 1931. Using his dreams as a primary source of inspiration. And about physical beauty, it's not naked like Greek gods, for example, attracting those with desires or those who believe that art and beauty lie in the nakedness of the body. Regarding the beauty of the face, it is not that beauty. It is not the beauty of a girl with a pearl earring, for example. It appears that the painting's message is derived from the ideas expressed by Saint Francis de Sales in the Introduction to the Devout Life. In short, de Sales wrote that women should protect their ears from filthy words. Using the text The Eastern Gospel as a reference, it seems that the pearl earring in Vermeer's Dutch painting represents chastity, while the mentioned Eastern element represented by the girl's turban signifies virtues. The painting thus promotes virtue. Without analyzing the painting further, it is a portrayal of a naturally serene, beautiful girl wearing a pearl earring in the form of a tear. In summary, the painting Mona Lisa does not distinguish itself in any way. It depicts a woman placing her hand on the other in a way that makes me think of old ladies after an afternoon nap. I mean, the Mona Lisa and its beauty standards do not make you gasp in amazement at its shocking beauty. Although Leonardo da Vinci created many famous paintings such as The Last Supper and Lady with an Ermine, why does the Mona Lisa remain the most famous painting in history? Did the French steal the famous painting? It is believed that Leonardo brought the painting with him when he was invited to France by King Francis in 1516, and he continued to work on it. After his death in 1519, King Francis bought it for 4,000 écus. However, Francis's acquisition of the painting explains the transfer of the masterpiece from the Italian Renaissance to French territory, which caused some concern among nationalist Italians. Many people say that the painting's fame is due to its beauty or the enchanting, mysterious smile, while others say that the reason is the strange gaze of its eyes, so that when you look at it from a distance, you feel as if it is looking at you. The Mona Lisa was displayed in all important places at that time: the Château de Fontainebleau, Versailles, and even Napoleon Bonaparte's bedroom after the French Revolution. But the painting's journey ended at the Louvre, which was stolen from it in 1911. The most daring theft in history. On August 21st, 1911, the world was shocked by the news of the theft of the Mona Lisa, which was dubbed at the time as the greatest theft in modern history. The newspapers covered the event, and the world was intrigued, but no one knew who committed the theft. 60 detectives were assigned to solve the case, but it remained unresolved for 2 whole years. Who discovered the theft? The first person to discover the theft was the French painter Louis Béraud. He visited the Louvre Museum and noticed that the Mona Lisa was missing from its designated place on the wall. He informed the guards, who initially believed that the painting had been moved for promotional purposes by the employees. Béraud followed up a few hours later and discovered that the painting was indeed missing. The Louvre Museum was closed for a week for investigation. Béraud's persistence might have been genuine patriotism, but he also had a personal interest in the return of the Mona Lisa. He was painting his own copy of Leonardo's masterpiece on the walls of the Louvre Salon and was probably looking forward to putting his model back in its place so that he could finish his project. Who stole the woman with the mysterious smile? Vincenzo Peruggia, an employee of the museum, was suspected. He was an Italian who moved to Paris in 1908 and worked as a manual laborer. His job was to attach glass covers to paintings. The French police searched his apartment in 1911 for evidence, but didn't find any. Peruggia had a criminal history. He was once arrested for attempting to steal a prostitute, and another incident involving weapons possession. However, his criminal past did not necessarily mean anything in this context. On September 7, 1911, the writer and critic Guillaume Apollinaire was arrested and imprisoned for suspicion of stealing the Mona Lisa painting and several other Egyptian sculptures from the Louvre Museum. Apollinaire often called for the burning of the Louvre Museum, which of course was not well received by the authorities. He was released after a week. However, during the time he spent in jail, he was able to implicate his friend Pablo Picasso in the theft. Apollinaire was cleared of all charges, but it was revealed that one of his former assistants, Honoré Joseph Guillepi, was responsible for the theft of the small Egyptian sculptures that were lost from the Louvre Museum. When the police called Guillaume for questioning regarding the theft, he named his close friend Pablo Picasso as one of the suspects. The police then summoned the young artist for questioning and found him involved in buying many stolen artworks from the Louvre Museum, which further implicated him in the case. However, Picasso was soon cleared of the charges 2 years later, when the actual culprit was found. But seriously, who stole the Mona Lisa? In police stories, the killer is usually the last person you expect to be the culprit, and these stories often reflect reality. Let me prove it to you. Remember the innocent worker at the Louvre? What was his name again? I remember. It was Vincenzo Peruggia. Vincenzo Peruggia was able to freely roam the exhibition of the world's most famous artworks after opening hours, and his unsuspected access to the exhibition allowed him to steal the painting. The Louvre Museum and high-tech security systems. Contrary to high-tech security systems and surveillance cameras today, There was not much in the early 20th century to prevent criminals from removing artworks that were priceless and even from glass cases. Another man named Joseph Guéry-Piré proved this by stealing a small, unseen antique artifact from the museum's exhibitions and selling it to his friends. This brazen theft could have been impossible to actually achieve today. How to steal the Mona Lisa in 3 steps? Maybe it's tempting to plan a thief's operation for months or even years. A painting like this is definitely hard to get. It's the Mona Lisa. Let me surprise you and tell you that the theft operation included nothing more than hiding in the security room until the museum closes. Then go towards the legendary picture, take it off the wall, put it under your coat, and leave the door. Voila! You have now become the owner of the most famous painting in history in an easy and practical way. You can try it at home, just like Perugia did. Perugia was the mastermind behind the theft, but received assistance. His accomplices were 2 brothers named Vincenzo, Michel Lancelotti. Perugia and his followers stole the painting from the Louvre Museum and returned to his Paris apartment. Initially, he had hoped to sell the artwork to a wealthy art collector. However, when the news of the theft reached the global media and the police offered a large reward for its return, Perugia realized this might be more difficult than expected. So, he kept the painting stored in a basement box while he studied what to do next. Why did Perugia steal the Mona Lisa? History considered Perugia as an Italian nationalist, and his most passionate cause was the return of art heritage from his ancestors during the Renaissance era to his homeland. However, unfortunately, reality might have been more corrupt. It is rumored that Perugia was an employee of Argentine art dealer Eduardo de Valfierno, who worked with forger Yves Chaudron on a plan to create and sell 6 fake Mona Lisa copies while the original disappeared. Questions still remain about the existence of Valfierno and Chaudron, who have not been definitively identified, and the authenticity of the 6 alleged fake paintings has never been proven. How Perugia was arrested? In December 1913, after 2 years of keeping the painting hidden in his apartment in Paris, Perugia was eager to sell the Mona Lisa. He never heard from Valfierno after the initial agreement to sell the painting and decided to take matters into his own hands. He smuggled the painting to Italy. Then he attempted to sell the painting to an art dealer in Florence named Alfred Jarry under the pseudonym Leonardo Vincenzo. It is understood that Gary suspected the seller, so he asked the head of an Italian art exhibition to join him in the meeting with Perugia. After confirming the authenticity of the painting, Italian art experts pretended to agree to Perugia's sale offer while secretly contacting the police. From there, the painting returned to the Louvre, where it remains to this day. During that time, the police arrested Perugia, who claimed that he had stolen the painting only to return it to its rightful place in Italy. Perugia's trial. He had written in a letter to his father 4 months after the theft, "I will make my fortune, and it will come in one opportunity." Perugia did not make his fortune, but his avowed pseudo-patriotism baffled the Italian jury. On June 5, 1914, he was sentenced to 1 year and 15 days in prison. He served only 7 months. After fighting for Italy in World War I, he returned to France, where he died in 1925. After a short tour in Italy, the Mona Lisa was returned to France. Due to negotiations between the 2 countries, their relationship nearly broke apart. At that time, it was the most famous painting in the world. The Washington Post estimated the painting's value before the theft to be around $5 million. And there is no need to mention that Perugia caused its value to skyrocket. The insurance value of the painting in 1966 reached $100 million, a record that has not been repeated in history. How to easily make a trend. The Mona Lisa was one thing before the theft and something else after. The Mona Lisa was not of the same artistic and material value that it is today. People did not look at the Mona Lisa as that holy woman with the mysterious smile who holds the secrets of the universe within her frames. It is also interesting to note that the Mona Lisa was not known all over the world until after the theft. The Mona Lisa's status did not begin to reach legendary proportions until all the news coverage that coincided with the theft. In simpler terms, her value went up and her aura became more intriguing. Only because of the media and the hype, only because the subject became a media and journalism event and a worldwide phenomenon, and everyone started talking about it. Only because of these reasons did the Mona Lisa become famous and a sacred artistic icon. Final word. What about your view of Perugia? Do you consider him patriotic or just a thief and a fraud? No more?